Okay, hey guys, today we're going to go over muscle action. With that, we're going to talk about concentric, eccentric, isometric. We're going to talk about different styles of resistance and a few other things. So we'll get right into the details. Story of the day: Harvard University professor John Kenneth Galbraith was one of the most famous economists of all time. He also published an incredible number of books and articles. Shortly before Professor Galbraith died, a journalist asked him what he had learned from a lifetime of writing. The professor responded, "The most important thing I learned was that the quality of writing I did on the days I didn't feel like it was as good as the quality of the writing I did on the days I did feel like it." The lesson there is, even if you don't feel like doing something, we need to set necessary weekly goals and get them done regardless of whether we feel like doing them or not. Great people do their best even when they feel it like it's the least. Consistency wins. So this is the principle of compounding interest. This is the principle of discipline. Setting out to do what you mean to do and doing it even when you don't feel like it. There's a lot to be said about that, and we'll discuss later. All right, so we had our leadership lecture a few days ago, and in that we talked about a couple of qualities that different individuals felt were necessary for leadership. Some of the most common ones are shared here: inspire, strong communication skills, leads by example, expertise and skill set. We talked about that a little bit. Develops mentors. That's a big one in the Army. There's actually couple of different training units that all they do is train, and the name of the staff is OTC: Observe, Train, and Coach. I think is what it stands for. Kind of along the same lines: develop and mentor. Positively impact. Remember the Dale Carnegie concept: there's no such thing as a small interaction. You either leave people better or worse every time you engage with them. Captivating. You have to gain interest in order to gain investment, right? So if I'm talking to you guys and you don't really care, you're not really captivated or motivated by what I'm saying, then I'm not doing my job of gaining your interest and leading in that regard. Compassionate. Empathy always wins. Altruism and empathy always win. Contagious positive mindset. Always finding the silver lining, and this is something that you'll really learn to appreciate in as you progress in life. Recently we talked about it a few days ago. Recently, I went down in a motorcycle accident, and the cop that responded told me, of all things considered, probably the worst outcome was that I tore my Lululemon gym shorts, and it made me laugh. And you realize what you're thankful for when you got a cop there making jokes about an accident. But positive mindset is king. Poor example, but it's just something that happened recently, so it made me laugh for sure. And you realize, slow things down, find the positive output. Quick to make decisions, slow to change them. This is one that's really important. You'll see this in a couple of books if you read the leadership books that I have suggested. One of them for sure. And as you increase your experience in the workforce, you'll see that many of your leaders will make a decision quickly, and in order to change them, it takes a little bit more time, and that's just a component of leadership. Focus on the process, not results. Being outcome focused versus process focused is very different, and you will see this many times over in several leadership books. The process is the journey, so to speak. You're focusing on those that help drive your business, those that you work with, those that you surround yourself with, your family, etc., versus the outcome, like, I need to be a successful businessman no matter what it takes. And it's a very different personality. It's a very different outcome. It's a very different set of personality structures. Confident, competent, selfless, Ownership. That one I put let's discuss because, again, I've taught this for now 3 semesters, and I've seen a few students where they're like, leadership is alpha male, head of the pack, isn't afraid of putting people in their place when they need to be. And then I've seen a lot of like a little bit more loosey goosey, like, yeah, just lead us to victory, whatever. But the ownership is being willing to take all of the negative accolades, not accolades, but all of the negative processes along with the accolades. So a good leader will 100% take ownership of all mistakes and failed processes, and they will also disseminate the successes. One of the best examples I saw of that was written in a book called Good Boss, Bad Boss, where they talked about one of their executives taking on this magazine, and a year and a half of work turned out to be a big flop. And the CEO of the company, when they met with all the executives, basically took ownership and blame of that and said, look, I award and accommodate their bravery in this attempt, and their failures are actually all of ours because we all approved the process on the way up. So a really good example of taking ownership in that. Ability to put one in their place if needed. Let's discuss, as earlier mentioned, that's I have seen a couple of people write that in, and that was a big thought in the military. Like, to be a leader, you need to be an alpha male and put people in their place. It's, whether, again, leadership is relative, whether you feel that way or not, it's on you kind of, but it's definitely not how I would define one. And people would rather be led or guided as opposed to pushed and shoved. But once again, leadership is relative. Facilitates cohesion. Facilitating cohesion is obviously attaching or connecting with that common goal and helping everyone align with the pool of ideas and trying to get a common goal achieved through similarity and motivation. 2 final thoughts. One, you're setting an example regardless. You might as well make it a good one. There is no such thing as a small interaction. You leave people either better or worse every time you engage with them. And finally, I believe this is an old Jewish proverb: judge a man by his intentions, not by his actions. Judge yourself by your actions, not your intentions. And that's a really good highlight of, even people can mess up even if they have good intentions, but you yourself, your actions should be what you're judged by. All right, we'll get into the nitty gritty. This is the science portion. We have muscle actions. So muscle action we talked about a little bit earlier. We have concentric, eccentric, and isometric are the 3 main. There's a few others, but concentric muscle action is when the muscle is under tension and shortening, or summarized by the concentric muscle action is what causes our limbs to move against gravity. So if gravity is pulling us down and we are going up, concentric muscle action. That is the easiest and simplest definition that will help us remember it. If concentric muscle action is what causes our limbs to move against gravity. So the downward portion of most exercises. Concentric actions of the bench press would be on the way up from the chest against gravity. Chest to up is concentric. Squat is from the bottom, the whole up. That's against gravity. Deadlift is from the very beginning, from the ground up. That's against gravity. Overhead press from the shoulders up. That's against gravity. Bicep curl from the bottom up. That's against gravity. Leg curl, same thing. You get the idea. One tricky part of this is the lat pull down. So which part of the lat pull down is concentric versus eccentric? Remember, we're going against gravity. Typically, it's on the way up, but on the lat pull down, against gravity, it's pulling it down because the pulley is connected to the weight. So that's the one caveat. Make sure you're thinking critically and not just answering what is common. So don't treat commonalities treat individualities, and that's how we get that. Eccentric muscle action is when the muscle is under tension and lengthening, or simply muscle action that allows us to control our limbs when moving with gravity. So we're controlling the braking force or moving with gravity. So we go back, bench press, eccentric, controlling it down to the chest, squat, controlling it down to the hole, deadlift, controlling it down from lockout, overhead press, controlling it from lockout to the shoulders, etc., etc. Muscle action, isometric muscle contraction is when the muscle is under tension but does not change length. Isometric contraction allows our limbs and body to resist movement and stabilize the segment. So we're resisting movement. One good example, easy to understand, isometric contraction of the abs takes place during the plank position, or on a bench pause, squat pause, deadlift pause, whatever it is, we pause movement and hold, that's isometric. We're not allowing gravity to move us up or down. We're not moving with or against gravity. All right. Fast twitch and slow twitch. In your modules, I attached a video from YouTube that does a great job of explaining the different types of muscle fibers, which we will get into here. But basically, fast twitch and slow twitch, we're going to discuss what it means. What best place to start with is what a twitch is. A twitch is an action potential traveling down a motor neuron, resulting in a period of activation of the muscle fibers within the motor unit. The brief contraction, so we're thinking real brief contractions, that results is referred to as a twitch. So fast twitch, what do you think is going to happen? It happens fast. Slow twitch happens slow. Muscle fiber differences, we have type 1 and type 2, fast or slow. It's accompanied by a distinct difference in the ability of the fibers to demand and supply energy for contraction and thus withstand fatigue. So not only is fast or slow a fast intervention or a slow intervention, it's also the resistance to fatigue and the supply and demand of energy. So for a fast twitch, or for a slow twitch or type 1 or slow oxidative, we have a high aerobic capacity, we have a high resistance to fatigue, smaller in size, slow twitch motor units develop force and relax slowly. High capacity for aerobic energy supply, limited potential for rapid force production, and low myosin ATPase activity. So it breaks down ATP very slowly. So all of these are qualities of the slow oxidative type 1 slow twitch muscle fibers. Then we get into muscle fiber type, continued muscle fiber type, fast oxidative glycolytic or fast twitch, FOG type 2A muscle fibers. They have a better muscular endurance and aerobic capacity, but their fatigue level is a little bit less than type 1, a little bit more than type 2X. Rapid force development, more than 1, less than X. They have more capillaries and high anaerobic power or moderate aerobic power. So this is the power endurance or the multiple bouts of oxidative capacity tests, things of that nature. It's a little bit, it's right in the middle of 1 and 2X, so to speak. Fast glycolytic or fast twitch or type 2X, muscular strength and power. This is the all-out bout, vulnerable to fatigue, extremely high. Fast twitch motor unit is one that develops force and also relaxes rapidly and thus has a short twitch time. So very quick, very short twitch and relaxes very quickly. The largest fiber type and the largest motor unit type.